These are some new roles that have been happening in the careers team. Our team has grown a lot over the last few years. So now we have dedicated people working in faculties to deliver things to you that are more industry relevant than maybe some general careers advice. So to get started today, when you think about what you're going to do with your career and what you want to become, back in the day, say when your parents or grandparents were deciding what jobs they did, it was really easy for them. They just did what their parents did. So if your mum was a lawyer, you became a lawyer. If your dad was a doctor, it was expected you to become a doctor. So this was very easy career advice to follow. Then sometime in about the 1980s, people decided that greed was good. And we had the Wall Street boom. And people started to follow the money and started doing different career paths than possibly their parents had done before them. However, your generation has grown up with some really different career advice, and that is to follow your passion. Do what you love and the money will come. And a lot of students have been hearing this throughout their career. That's not your career, I guess your education. As you can see in the late 90s, which were your formative years, the use of this phrase increased exponentially. It was absolutely everywhere. An example of this is here.
My second story is about love and loss. I was lucky. I found what I loved to do early in life. Woz and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just the two of us in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. We just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I just turned 30. And then I got fired. How can you get fired from a company you started? Well, as Apple grew, we hired someone who I thought was very talented to run the company with me. And for the first year or so, things went well. But then our visions of the future began to diverge, and eventually we had a falling out. When we did, our board of directors sided with him. And so at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really didn't know what to do for a few months. I felt that I had let the previous generation of entrepreneurs down, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. I met with David Packard and Bob Noyce and tried to apologize for screwing up so badly. I was a very public failure, and I even thought about running away from the valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I'd been rejected, but I was still in love. And so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started a company named Next, another company named Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer-animated feature film, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next, and I returned to Apple, and the technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance. And Lorene and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking, don't settle.
So that's just one of the many famous examples of this career advice being given to your generation. Who has ever been asked the question, just show of hands, what do you want to be when you grow up? Who's ever been asked that question? Most people? Some people were never asked, that's sad. At what age do you think you were first asked this question? Just with your fingers. 5, some people really young, 3, 4. Yeah, we start definitely getting asked this question when we're quite young. I know I definitely got asked it when I was about 5. And nobody cared what I said when I was 5. It was just something cute. I think that year I said I wanted to become a ballerina. So that year for Halloween, I got to be a ballerina. So as I was saying, it's inspirational at this age. It's really about you can be whatever you want. You know, the world's your oyster. What do you want to be? You can be anything. It's quite inspirational. However, as you start to grow, sometimes a bit of pressure starts to build with this, especially by the time you start getting to uni. So who has now, when you've been asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, who started to feel any level of anxiety there answering this question? Anyone? Yeah, that's completely understandable. As you get to uni, it starts to feel like you need to have an answer for this. When someone says, what are your passions? What are you going to do when you graduate? What do you want to be now? You feel like you actually need to have a plan and an answer beyond, oh, maybe ballerina, because that's just not that cute anymore. And so you might start to feel something like this in your second or final year. Everyone's going to be asking the same question. And you've been given this advice of follow your passion. And this is a very limiting idea. The idea is centered around this idea that there's one singular passion that you have, and it is your purpose to figure out what that is and pursue it with the exclusion of all else. And if you do this, you'll be successful. And if you don't, you have failed. And that's a little bit overwhelming. So I'm not a big fan of the advice, follow your passion. And I've got 3 main reasons I'm not a fan of this advice. The first reason is because it's set on the idea of follow your passion being your strongest interest. And if you follow your strongest interest, you are likely to fail. I have studied and researched to back this up. Canadian students a few years ago were all asked, university students, what is your strongest passion? What are you most passionate about? What's your strongest interest? What do you think Canadian university students might have said?
Sleeping.
Ice hockey, what did someone else say?
Sleeping.
Sleeping. I don't think they got many of them saying sleeping, so we were asked by their university, but ice hockey was definitely up there. Actually, 90% of students said music, arts, or sports. Something in that category was their strongest interest. And if you think about that, and think about the amount of jobs that are actually in those industries, and you look at the census data in Canada, what you find is actually only 3% of jobs in Canada are in the field of sports, arts, and music. So even if 10% of these students went after their strongest passion, the likelihood of them being successful and finding careers is unlikely. The next reason I don't love this advice of follow your passion is because there's actually been no research to show if you're doing a job you're passionate about, you're successful and you're happy. Instead, I think it's Laura Fortgang. It is. Laura Fortgang did a lot of research, and I've read a lot of her research about job satisfaction and happiness in your life. And actually that job satisfaction and happiness comes from not what you do, but the person you get to be when you're doing your job. So when I was reading this, I was thinking, how do I put this in a practical way that we can understand? Because it's a bit dry, the research. And I was watching the Discovery Channel, a show called Dirty Jobs. And anyone who's watched it, it's quite entertaining, and there was a pig farmer on one week. And you're probably wondering, how does a pig farmer relate to follow your passions and happiness and success? But actually the whole program was about how happy he was in his dirty job. So this pig farmer, they asked him loads of questions about why are you happy? And what they started to discover was that he didn't grow up dreaming about being a pig farmer. He doesn't have this innate passion inside him about pork. He's not passionate about that specifically, but the person he gets to be while he's doing this job makes him very happy. He goes to work every day, he never even takes a vacation. The person he gets to be is autonomous. He has no boss, he's essentially his own boss. He's giving back to society. He actually uses scraps from a local casino and feeds his pigs with these. So he's actually reducing waste in the world. And then the third thing is he's actually earning a really strong living. And when they realised what his 3 kind of happiness quotas were, you could take that and give him any other job that filled these 3 quotas, and he would be just as happy and possibly just as satisfied. And then the third reason I don't love follow your passion as career advice is because it's not a plan. Someone tells you, do what your parents did, or follow the money. There's things you can do to figure that out. but follow your passion is a hard one to follow with a plan. I'm going to give you the example of me for this one. So I told you when I was 5, I was passionate about becoming a ballerina. I literally wore this tutu non-stop for about 2 weeks. My parents had to force me to take it off so that they could wash it. But I got to about 8 years old and I was doing ballet and I went to pointe shoes. So those of you who don't know, pointe shoes is when you're on your absolute tiptoe in ballet. And the shoes are actually metal capped. And so your toes are getting squished against metal, you lose toenails, you're constantly bleeding. At 8 years old, I lost my passion for ballet very quickly at this point. And by the time I'd actually turned 21, by the time I'd graduated, I'd done so many different jobs because I didn't have one set passion. I wanted to try everything. I've been a surf lifesaver, a telemarketer, I've been a bartender, a kindergarten teacher, actually a zookeeper, environmental researcher, a Christmas elf was one of my faves, I love that job. I also worked in a beauty counter. There were so many others, I can't even think of them all right now. But essentially you get the idea. By the time I graduated from my double degree of marketing and education, I was also a kindergarten teacher. My resume was a mess. Absolutely no clear direction on what I was passionate about. So I graduated and what lots of university students who haven't found their passion do, I went traveling, I went abroad and thought I would discover who I was. And those of you who follow the GFC, I was actually in New York in the Bear Stearns office the day that they closed. For those of you who don't know GFC, Bear Stearns went under, Lehman Brothers went under, Fannie went under, crash GFC happened. I didn't realise this at the time, I was just excited their corporate cards were still working when I got to go out with my friends. So we had a great night in New York. But when I came back from my travels around the US and Europe, I realised GFC had hit hard. And people were actually cancelling graduate programs. People had offers were getting them reneged and taken away because companies were cutting back. It was a really hard time to be getting a job. So I thought about what am I passionate about now? All I figured out while I was away is that I don't want to work with children anymore. I don't want to be a primary school teacher. So I went after marketing. And I got my first marketing job working with uni students with events and activities based around educating people about a career in accounting. And accounting was not a passion of mine, to be honest. I actually really struggled with accounting at uni and didn't admit this in my job interview. But I loved what I was doing. I was learning, I had a great team, I got to be really creative in what I did. And I was developing. I stayed in that role for quite a few years. And then I decided I wanted to try something new. So I moved to London and I got a role in graduate recruitment at a bank called Barclays. For those of you who don't know, it's a really large UK-based bank. And I was actually creating their internship programs for all of their retail bank. And I loved this role. It was creative, I got autonomy. I made my interns come in at 8 AM in the morning to do yoga before work. I really could do whatever I wanted. And a lot of project management, end-to-end projects that I got to own. And it was an amazing job, I loved it. However, after about 12 months in this job, we restructured. Something that big companies do all the time. And I came in one day and they were like, Nicole, you're no longer doing this job and hiring for this leadership internship program that you've designed and developed and you love. You're now the recruiter and you're recruiting for investment banking areas, trading, sales, and research. So pack up your desk, move to the other office, and that's your new job now. So I started doing this job. It was good. I learned some things. I definitely learned how to deal with very challenging, very senior stakeholders. But it was no longer being creative. I was implementing a process that someone else had put in place. And I was reporting into someone who was very strict. And for me, it just didn't feel right anymore. I had that kind of feeling inside being like, this isn't it. Yes, I'm earning more, but I'm not happy every day. So I left that job and I went to another investment bank. To be honest, the money was good and I just couldn't quite walk away from that paycheck yet. And I went to UBS, which is a Swiss investment bank, and I was doing the marketing for their graduate programs across Europe. I love this role, as you can imagine, creative, autonomous, project management. And when that contract finished, I went to another company called Accenture, which is a tech consulting company. And I actually got to create some of their new graduate programs from scratch, so strategy consulting as well as some other specialist consulting areas. And I absolutely loved it. I was really enjoying this role until I got the call from UTS that they had a new role, a career coach for the business school, something I'd always wanted to do. And so I packed up my stuff in London, moved back to Sydney, and here I am.